were ever children. But the truth of the matter is, Richard Ramirez had a wonderful family.
Richard Ramirez was born on February 29, 1960 in El Paso, Texas. He was the fifth and last child of Julian and Mercedes Ramirez. Mercedes was a devout Catholic. Julian, who had only a first-grade education, grew up in Mexico, where he met and married Mercedes in 1948. A former policeman, he took a job as a laborer on the Santa Fe Railroad when he crossed the border with his new bride. Mercedes began working in a boot factory mixing pigments and chemicals without benefit of ventilation or masks. By 1959, she had given birth to 4 children, Reuben, Joseph, Robert, and Ruth. Reuben and Joseph were both born with birth defects.
She was breathing fumes all day, and it was very, very difficult for her. But she was always loving, she was always kind.
Her pregnancy with Richard was the hardest. The fumes were making her weak and nauseous, and doctors suspected her body was trying to reject the child she was carrying. But despite her sickness, she gave birth to a lovely and seemingly happy child.
And when I said to her, "What was your son like as a little boy?" she looked up to the ceiling, her eyes started filling with tears, and these big crocodile tears rolled down her face, and she said, "When Richie was a little boy, he used to love to dance to the radio." And she went on to describe this normal child who was very extroverted, always laughing, always giggling.
But childhood was not without its dangers. At the age of 2 and later as a 5-year-old, Richard suffered accidental but traumatic head injuries, both of which were serious enough to have left him unconscious. Still, Richard did well in school, and his friends remember him fondly.
He was a friendly kid and very charming. Yeah, I remember him having a lot of little girlfriends, girls that had little crushes on him. But he was a very good person, a good child.
But there was one thing that set him apart.
He had epileptic attacks. This is when we were in the 5th grade. Ricky would have his attacks, his seizures. And we were pretty much programmed in the classroom. Teacher would hold him down. All the students would be all around the classroom against the walls. We felt for him.
The epileptic attacks continued and began to disrupt Richard's life.
In fact, one of the important experiences in Ramirez's adolescent life was his anger about not being allowed to play football because he would have brief episodes of seizure-like behavior.
But other forces were shaping Ramirez too. Richard's father, Julian, was abusive, often beating his children with a belt.
His father was a strict disciplinarian and believed in corporal punishment, and he beat his sons, and he was very violent with them. What affected him the most was not his father hitting him, it was seeing his father hit his brothers. He was moved by that. It altered him, it changed him in some way.
His father's temper was so volatile, he often exploded and took his rage out on himself, once banging his own head with a hammer until he bled. Richard escaped the brutality by staying near his mother and big sister. They tried to reinforce his strict Catholic upbringing, and as a child, he attended church regularly.
His mother was a benign female figure, and we have no data to indicate that she did anything that would arouse the kind of malevolent, psychotic rage that characterized this man.
He's very close to his sister. She doted on him, she watched over him.
Yet, ironically, though his sister and mother were loving and giving, as he approached adolescence, something formed deep within Richard that would later burst into rage against women.
Distortions in sexuality probably really don't come about as a result of early childhood experiences with maternal figures. The indications are that